Yeah, hello everyone. So I guess we've waited for long enough to start the class because we actually have a lot to do. Uh, Hopefully others will get to join us even while the class is on. So welcome, I welcome you all to Textiler. Sorry, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. I welcome you all to Textiler, and Textiler is a community that was established in 2020. What is the reason of its establishment? Just purposely to give, um, to help, let me call it female child, to help the females in the tech industry, or to help on board the female child, the female children into the tech industry. So one of the reasons why we look at this is, if you look at the tech industry today, you see that there's more male. It is more male dominated, and then it is an area where we can also flourish. And most of the time, we do not have someone to direct us, someone to guide us on what to do, or which path to take. Even after our school, for those of us that went to school to study computer, for instance, and for those that feel, oh, I feel tech is what is reigning now, I want to kind of go into that space. There's really no one to mentor us. There's no one to guide us or what and what to do, where to start from. And because the women who established this community, they saw this, and they've also been in that, in that space before, and coming out saying, okay, I think I've been there, I know what people are feeling, I can do this to help others not to, feel they don't have to go through what I went through. And that's what led to the establishment of Textiler. So to give women voice in the tech industry, to give them that confidence. And that is why we started with what we call monthly meetup, and then we went into, deep dive, starting picking courses in learning parts, especially around Microsoft. So take note, this is all about Microsoft. In the future, or as time go on, we will be introducing other services from other OEM. But for now, we are focusing majorly on Microsoft. So that is, in a nutshell, what Textiler is all about. So you are joining this class for you to be able to benefit from that vision, the vision of helping a female child to be able to get to know technology, to get to know how to use it, to get to know how to contribute, even after they have been able to learn something and also be able to give back. So that is, technology really is all about solving problems, and that is the reason why Textilers has been set up. So moving on, today we are starting. This is a cloud computing class, and then we're starting with Azure Fundamental. Like I said, we are focusing mainly for now on Microsoft infrastructure, and we are going to be doing the full Azure track, of course. So I will also encourage us that even though you are taking this first class, which is the very basic for most of us that might be new, it's it's not something for you to stop there. We will always like to encourage you to also move further in the career. But we have also spread it over a period of time for you to have that full or that long period to do both the combination of the classroom things to learn from the classroom as we go along, and then to also be able to study on your own, because sometimes, or most time rather, there's no enough time to say all that needed to be said in a classroom. So we can then go at our own free time to go study further and probably come back to the instructor whom you might have made contact with and ask questions. They will be willing all the time to guide you. So, meet your instructors. My name is Titilope Bello, and I'm a Microsoft certified trainer, and I focus majorly around Microsoft 365. So you will say, okay, Microsoft 365, and then I'm teaching Azure. Yes, it's all cloud, but I major in Microsoft 365, but then I still do a whole lot around Azure, and then I can take the class. So do not be afraid. This is my first time mentoring in Textiler, and I hope to continue to be able to help us, to do better even as we look for job out there. So it won't be just about, oh, I've gone to write an exam and I passed this exam, so I'm looking for a job. But to be able to give you that hands-on, and you being able to even defend even the certification that you'll be having at the end of the day. And that's my LinkedIn URL, so you can contact me on LinkedIn. Along with me is Oluwatosin Anishere. Fortunately, she's not on the call today. I might be the one taking you throughout the duration of this fundamental class. However, if she's able to join at any time, she will be willing to, contribute, support us where necessary, or even take certain topics. But she's to co-host this track or these classes with me. So she's a cloud infrastructure and Microsoft security consultant, and also a Microsoft certified trainer. And she has been a mentor for a while, Textiler, and instructor. And you can also connect to her. You can connect to her also on her LinkedIn profile. So, not to that is in a nutshell about us. Next, we would like to meet you also. We'd like to know who is it we are meeting on this call. We'd like to know your names. Do you currently work in a company, or are you a student? If you work in a company currently, what do you do? What's your function? Do you have a title? Or as a student, what else do you do apart from being a student? We'd like to meet you. Do you have prior experience with Azure before now? Or this is your first time? And if you have prior experience, what's your expectation of this course? And if you do not, what are you expecting to take home after the whole of this track? So you have heard about me, and now it's time for me to know more about you. We are so many on this call, I will say, but like we said, we are hoping more people are going to join us. I'm just hoping it's not because they are having a lot of issue trying to join, but we have people who are seated to kind of assist them on how to get on the call. So, because we are not many, we just will have said, okay, we'll make use of the people's pain. That's, I will say we'll make use of the people's pain, but then we are not so many. It's just the three of us majorly on this call. So, can I meet you one after the other? You can kind of, okay, so sorry. You might be wondering, I don't know if you are very used to Teams, but I know I've been speaking to someone here, that's Olayinka Olubukola, sorry. and you'll be muting and unmuting. So on this meeting screen, just look up. If you are using the latest one, look up, you will see the microphone icon. Just unmute it to speak. And then when you finish speaking, you're not speaking again, you can mute yourself back. The floor is open. Who's going first? Hello, are we there?
Yes, I'm here. I was hoping Chris will want to go first, actually.
Okay.
No, ladies.
Sorry. Oh, sorry. Chris is a guy. Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Because you might be wondering, I said it's for ladies, right?
Yeah.
But yes,
no, like ladies first. Yeah.
I was thinking because it's the other way around this time around, it will be let the men go first. And women. But it's okay. My name is Olubukola Ajayi. Everybody calls me Boki. Okay, the next is company affiliation. Yeah. Okay, I work with a mortgage insurance firm actually as a project manager, and I got my first kick off account working in IT back in Nigeria in 2019, and it's been IT software development project all the way for me since then. Yes, so I'm a project manager. I think I've answered up to number 3 of the question. Microsoft Azure experience is very, very fundamental and basic. And the reason why I have joined the course is to be able to learn more, know more, and to gain what you would call a domain knowledge, right, in IT. So it's not enough to just manage projects. It's also good to have domain knowledge. And that's why I have joined Techstylers to take the classes that I can to be able to improve my IT knowledge, especially in the space of cloud computing. I hope I have been able to do justice to those points.
Yes. Yes, thank you very much, Nicola. And like we said, this class is starting from the beginner, and then I'm hoping I will be able to help you to meet all your expectations. And yes, as I've said, you have very, very basic. This is also basic, but it might expand the scope of the basic knowledge that you currently have. So you're welcome. So,
thank you.
yes. So now to the guy in the house. I said earlier, it was created purposely to help female in the tech. However, over the course of the years that it has been open, our guys became jealous. Okay, so now it's only the women you want to focus on. What about us that are also, so that's one of the reasons why we open it up and say, okay, guys can join us also. Yes. Who knows? They can even be, one of the great, some of our guys can be one of the greatest inspiration for the ladies that are coming into tech today. And we are hoping even all of the myths or the belief of the past that IT is it's a man world, it's a man thing. Yeah, it will change over time. So I will leave the floor to you, Chris, to kind of give us your names. We already know anyway, but just for record purpose, and then tell us a little about you.
All right, thank you very much for this opportunity. And I would really want to say, lately I've noticed the trend in tech. It's like guys are now being marginalized, but thank you for giving us the opportunity to come in because you see opportunities being put out there explicitly. They'll be like ladies only should apply. So just be like, should I now go and identify to become a lady? All right, thank you very much. So my name is Ajore Austin Chris. Company affiliation or school. No. So I let me see. I'm a techie. So I've worked in various field of media, especially being a graphic designer. Being a graphic designer. I've worked as a photographer, a little bit of video editing. Um, and most prominently as a digital marketer. So, but lately I decided to specialize in a particular part because I'm the kind of person that love having a taste of everything. So I decided to specialize in a particular part, and I started to become a web developer. So last October I resigned my job as a digital marketer just to focus on learning web development. So I'm making progress on that journey. So so right now, okay, so Microsoft Azure experience, I wouldn't say, I would just say I have zero experience when it comes to Microsoft Azure. Then, what my expectation would be for this course would be that basically, I understand the fact that when you're trying to build out a web application or something, there is always the need for a cloud, especially when you want people to be able to access what you're doing beyond just on your local environment. So, so cloud computing is very important, and I know the giant players we have AWS, and then there's Microsoft Azure as well. So I just felt like okay, that I really need to have the knowledge of this cloud so that I'll be a an all-rounded kind of developer. So I'm in this course for the knowledge, and that's really what I expect from the program. All right, thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you very, very much for the introduction. And from the look of things, it's 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 already saying that the audience of this call are currently beginner. So and we're going to try as much as possible to ensure that you are able to get that knowledge, you are able to get uh, um, that experience in terms of having a clear understanding of what cloud computing is all about, and now focusing majorly on Microsoft Azure. We'll make sure we keep it to that. But before we get into, the course, I would like to give us a little bit of housekeeping rules. And this course is going to be holding for the duration of 2 hours each week. That's every Saturday, 2 hours. And it's going to run for about 6 Saturdays. And we'll try as much as possible to stick to keep to the 2 hours, especially because people are joining from different different uh, uh, area or different countries in the world. And then we also know how important our Saturdays are to us, and we wouldn't want to take a lot of your time. And so that's why we say, okay, we'll keep it to 2 hours. However, the time where there will be labs, if you feel you want to remain on the call to continue, or you can not really remaining on the call, like immediately after the class, you want to continue your lab and probably post question whenever you have it. That's all good as well. But officially, it's going to be holding for 2 hours each week. And also, I like to inform you that recording is actually on for this channel or for this call, and it's going to be on for every call. So we are saying this because of GDPR, and then so that you are aware that the call is being recorded. Everything you say right now is being recorded. So if that's going to be a problem, then it means this call or this session might not be for you. And why we are recording it is for you to be able to go back to it later and then watch the video all over again at your own time or at your own pace, and also give the opportunity for those that will be joining maybe later or even tomorrow to be able to revisit and view what they missed. That's the reason why we are actually doing the recording. That's the main reason, really. And the recordings will be made available for us in the various YouTube channel for us to access later. So also, here you have the option each time you need to speak. We would like also, if we would like you each time you're joining the call to always mute your audio, because sometimes people join maybe from a very noisy area, and because maybe the class is already on, when you join with your audio unmuted, that noise can distract the instructor. So we would like you to ensure you mute your audio at all time when you are not talking. And when you need to talk, to say something, ask question, comment on things, we would like you to make use of the raise hand feature. So for the raise hand feature is just, let me bring my because I really don't know what your screen is like. So we have, if your screen, if it is like mine, then you will see these icons up on your Teams call right now. And then you see the people's pane, you see the hand and the face emoticon icon there. So just over your cursor on it, and it will enable all other sub icons for you. So this is the raise hand feature that I'm talking about. Once you raise it, I will be able to see it. What is doing it is calling my attention. I will be able to see it. However, when I'm already maybe into it, I might not see that end on time. And probably you do not want to lose track of the question you want to ask, or you need my attention, like, immediately. It's okay as at that time to unmute yourself and call out, and then I can then attend to you. So that is the raise hand feature and how to use it. And then so there's the last one here, which is the conversation icon, which is the chat icon. I want to ask, from your pane that you have right now, from your view, can you see the chat icon? Because I'm actually not seeing it in mine. Can you see the chat icon?
Yes.
You are seeing it?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. So I do not know, maybe it's the way I joined. I'm hoping that's not the problem here. So, but for me, unfortunately, I'm not seeing it. And but then you can drop your chat. It will pop up for me, and then I can go back to the channel to go and see it and respond to it. But because I'm not seeing it live here, I will encourage you to do more speaking if you need anything. So that's that about that. I just noticed somebody just joined us with the name of Motunrayo, Omotara. I'm sorry. Do you want to quickly introduce yourself before we continue? Hi, Tara.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. So can we meet you?
Okay, just a very brief introduction. I am Omotara by name, an aspiring Microsoft Azure administrator. I previously had some certifications with Microsoft, but then learning is never enough. So I'd just love to proceed and then get to know a lot more about Microsoft services. And hopefully I'll be able to achieve a lot of that during the period of this training. It's nice to meet everyone.
Yeah, thank you very much. And then nice to meet you. Yes, just like you said, knowledge, learning is not something you do and stop. It's a continuous process, actually. So even if you have prior experience, we are hoping this basic or the fundamental class is going to help you remember those very basic things or very little things that we feel they don't really matter or they are not that important until one day when things come up and you say, oh my God, this is just basic. But then I can't wrap my head around it. So we're hoping we'll be able to help you to go back to basic and also, where possible, if you have a way for you to also contribute in the class. So because I'm emphasizing next week is going to be more than this, we're going to be more than this rather. So for those that are experienced, we will also like that you are able to contribute in the class also by helping people. So about this course. So thank you and welcome to Textiler and Tech Deep Dive courses or track of Azure. So about the course majorly, like we said, is a fundamental. This is a fundamental course, and then it's majorly to just introduce you to cloud concepts, cloud computing, but like we said, focusing on Microsoft Cloud, Microsoft Services, Microsoft Azure. So where you get to know the core services that Microsoft offer and securities, the various security tools that are available and at your own disposal, that whether as a user, as an administrator, or as a company or as an organization who is making use of the cloud, you are able to know the security features available for you to use. And then talking about privacy and then compliance and all of those, we are going to be touching those areas for you to just know the general, how it applies in the cloud, environment. And finally, we'll be showing you things around pricing and support, how you can already know ahead of time the likely cost of you running for maybe the next year or the next month. And that is the beauty of cloud. It helps you to be able to emphasize, what's going to cost you, that cost implication of whatever service you want to use in the cloud. And then, like we said earlier also, this course is purposely for beginner, a complete beginner. So that means because it's a beginner course, you are really not expected to have any form of prerequisite other than for you to kind of have a general background on IT, how maybe IT, at least computer, know how to use computer, work your ways around computers and the internet as a whole. So this course usually is of two types. So one is there's a 1 day course where everything is all about, talking, and no lab. And then there's a 2 day version of it. So if it's the 1 day could be 8 hours, and then the 2 days could be 16 hours. So because we cannot sit down in a day for 8 hours or 2 days of 16 hours, we are spreading the course, for a period of 6 weeks. I will give you more insight into that later. And at the end of this course, what we are also aiming is for you to have that understanding and the knowledge for you to go into the exam hall and write the AZ900 exam. So at least it's always good when you have experience and then you have the certification to back it up. So that's also the main purpose of this course, that after the course, you are able to take this exam and pass it. So moving on. Now, this is our agenda. Like I said, we have 6 modules, and then we have spread the 6 modules into 6 weeks, starting, with cloud concept, which is the topic of today. And then next week, we'll be talking about the core Azure services and core Azure services in terms of what are the services available in Azure that you can buy and use at whatever time you want it. Then the core solutions and management tools. That's how you can manage the various services that you are subscribing to in Azure, how you can manage them. We are going to be talking about that in the 3rd week. And then we'll go to general security and networking security. So it's not enough to say you have your cloud services and then there's no form of protection. So we're going to talk on general security, how you can protect and what are the protection security products available and that you can use to protect your the integrity of your data and prevent unauthorized access to your data wherever they are sitting, whichever cloud environment. But majorly we're talking Microsoft. And then module 5, we will be talking about identity, information governance, privacy, and compliance. So when we talk of identity, you are talking about when you need to give access to certain people within your organization to be able to do certain things. And then you're able to govern them to know what they are doing the right and the permissions that you have given to them. You are able to go monitor it and take it out of their hands when you see it's being misused, and ensure that, okay, while they are in the custody of whatever identity or credentials you have given them to access whatever resources, while they are accessing that resources, they are compliant with your own policy of how you are keeping your data and what you want them to do with that data that you have giving them access to. So module 6 is all about cost management. I said earlier, what cloud service offer is for you to be able to know ahead of time how much it's going to cost you to kind of rent a particular service for a period of time. I will try as much as possible to break it down. So bear with me. So next, let's talk about the certification itself. That's for this particular course, which is the fundamental. The certification, the exam code is AZ900, and then these are the study area. You will notice that the study area align with the 6 modules that we have. And when you look to your right, you notice that there's a weight attached to each of the areas. So the areas with higher weight means there will be likely more questions from that particular area. It means you have to learn all that you need to learn around that area and be able to attend to questions in that particular aspect. And even when your results come out, they are also going to show it to you like this and give you the corresponding score that you have from each of the areas. So that will tell you, oh, I need to go and study more in this particular area of this for this particular exam and be familiar with them. So the exam usually is for that's 120 minutes. Yes, 120 minutes, and it's about 50. Sometimes you might have 40 something questions, like 45 questions, and sometimes you might have up to 50 questions. But it's there in this fundamental exam. There's really no lab, so it's just going to be asking or testing you around your general or basic understanding of where to go and what service to use at what time, and then, you know, that's just how the exam is going to be. So unlike when you now move further into the intermediate class and you want to write such exam, you might have what we call simulations in the even in the exam. So that is that about the exam for this particular course. So let's start with module 1, which is cloud concept. With this module, what we are going to be learning is we are going to be learning the cloud models. The major cloud models that we have are the private cloud, the public cloud. You can also take the models as type of cloud. So we're just going to break it down for you to know the common type of cloud services that are out there, which is the public, the private, and the hybrid. Though there's a fourth one that is not commonly mentioned, it's called community cloud. So that we'll talk a little bit about it later, but you won't see it in this course because it's not so common. And then you will be able to know the benefits of cloud computing or cloud services. And if you must use the cloud services or subscribe to one, what are the considerations? What do you need to put into consideration before you on board, or before you dive into going, or before you migrate your data, you know, to the cloud? Then the type of cloud services, there are a lot of cloud services out there, but there are three major ones, though the other ones still make use of one or two of these common ones. So, but we are going to be focusing on these three major ones, which is infrastructure as a service, that's IaaS, and then PaaS, platform as a service, and then SaaS, that's software as a service. We'll talk, you know, we'll go deep dive into each of them as time goes on this call. And finally, we'll be talking on this particular module. We'll show you the shared responsibility. Now, when you're using cloud, there are responsibility that falls on the cloud service provider, and there are responsibility that falls on you as the end user. So if I mean you, if I say you, I mean I'm referring to you as the end user or the user of the service provider of these cloud services. And if I talk of the provider, I'm referring to the cloud service providers like the likes of Microsoft. There are other cloud service providers like Google, Amazon, and the rest of them. So, but like we said, as from time to time, we'll try to compare and contrast the Microsoft own with other cloud service providers out there. However, like we said, the focus of this course is mainly on Microsoft. So if you have any question, please, I would like you to kind of ask. If you ask question, if you know you, except you want to wait maybe till the end of a particular course. And as time go on, also we are going to be at interval, we are going to be posting probably questions, you know, to help you know and understand whether you are actually understanding the course, and also to help me know, you know, if you're understanding it and if I need to do more in my own from my own side to help you better. And then also there will be lab. So for the first module, which is module 1, there's no lab actually. The only lab that I will love us to do is creating your own Azure tenants. You know, later after this class, I will drop some materials that will guide you on how you're going to sign up for create your own Azure tenant or Azure account that you'll be using for the lab, for the duration of the course. Though it's going to require you to put your credit card, they won't charge you, don't be afraid. The only thing they just want to use to verify that you're a human being, though they will remove maybe $1, but it will be reverted once they are able to confirm that you are truly human. For certification, sorry, I forgot to make mention of that. For the certification, we are currently speaking with Microsoft, who will give us vouchers for everyone who joined the class and complete the class to be able to write the exam if you have not written it before. But if you have written the exam already and you just want to maybe go back to the basic, it's still very okay. So and again, for the lab, for each module, as time go on, as we are treating each module, I'll be dropping the lab file that will help you, to have, that hands-on experience as the time go on. So for this particular module, recall we said is divided into 3 sub module, which is the cloud model, the services, cloud services, and the last one is the cost management aspect of it. So by the time you finish this particular module, you will be able to describe, cloud computing in your own term, and you will be able to describe the various types of clouds that we have and compare them to help you. When you are comparing, that will give you like the understanding of understanding your environment and which of these cloud options you will be going for. So now we cannot start talking about maybe cloud model without talking about cloud computing itself. So in a layman term, before we go, maybe I should ask, I know from those that joined earlier, we asked for your experience, and some of us said, oh, I've been doing Microsoft, I have basic knowledge of Microsoft Azure or Microsoft generally. And I just want to, if they ask you, what really do you understand by cloud computing? Can anyone tell me what you think cloud computing is? So you can unmute your mic to speak. Is anyone willing to tell us what you understand by cloud computing? Are we shy? Okay. Okay.
Cloud computing is the delivery of computing services over the internet, enabling faster innovation, flexible resources, and economic of scales.
You're
I'd
actually
find
reading
it.
my slide to me. You're reading my slide to me. Yes, okay. I wanted maybe in your own time when you hear cloud. Normally, when you hear cloud before now, you just look at the sky. Okay, there's cloud coming, it's going to rain. Is that your idea of cloud? That's just maybe I made mistake to laugh or kind of face it before. But then okay, it seems Chin also want to say something.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. From my basic understanding of cloud computing, I think it's like renting cloud services over the internet. From the little research I did, like you have Google Photos, for instance. Google Photos has this feature where if you're out of space, like when you have Google Photos installed initially, you're assigned the particular amount of space to store your photos on the cloud. But when that is exhausted, you're now presented with the option of buying more space. Like recently, I bought 100 gigabytes for 200 naira. So that's like they are renting that service, that data, or that space for me to save my media files. So I think that's an example of cloud computing.
Mm. Thank you. You're right. Okay, Bukola, you wanted to say something?
Okay, yes, I was going to say, well, I'll add to what Chinonsa said to say it's like a storage service over the internet, and it allows both individual and organizations store their data in the, well, presumably cloud, and again allows for sharing of that service. So most organizations do not need to have their own physical storage in terms of data centers and the likes, because this service now allows them to be able to use storage services that are not directly or actively managed by them, but by other organizations.
Mm. Okay. Yes, we are correct. So that is the easiest way to put it. Renting storage. Renting storage. But in actual sense, cloud computing is much more than just the storage. Storage is one of it. Storage is one of it. And then cloud computing is much more than just that storage. It will involve a whole lot of other things. So storage is, sorry. So like Chris read it out, cloud computing is the delivery of cloud services over the internet. The key word here is actually the internet. That's the key word for cloud computing. It has to be, it is internet dependent. So if anybody tell you about cloud, they have cloud somewhere and you don't need internet to access it, that's not cloud. So it's usually, fast, very fast, and things change on that particular any cloud solution, any cloud infrastructure it has the tendency to change, to change. That's technologies that are being used, they change, frequently, and you have it must have the ability for what we call flexible resources. So meaning you can add or remove resources at any time, and then economic of scale in the sense that it is based on your pocket. You can subscribe to services based on your pocket. So cloud services offer you what we call the computing power. The computing, take it as your own physical computer. I'll give an instance now. Before now, since for those of us that are working in an organization, let's say where you work right now, uh, everybody need to do email. Email is the main communication channel for any business out there. And everybody need to be able to send email to each other and also send email to your customers out there, and they send email back to you. So you need a place, or you need a service, the email service needs to be up. And how do you get it up? First, you need to buy, or let me start with, you want to start a business, and email is one thing you will need. You will need maybe telephoning also to be able to talk to people within the office, and out of the office, though you can use your mobile, but within the office you will need some form of telephony services. Now for people to be able to connect, you will need networking, that's in terms of wireless and all of that. To store your data, you need storage. So now, but before you can get all of those things, you need a physical building. You need to set up a physical building, and then the building, you need to put in power, you need to put in cooling, that's in terms of your ACs, fans, and all of that. Then not just that, you need to put in security and physical security You need to put that into place, like putting door on the building, maybe things we call access control. Before you open a particular door, you have to kind of prove that you have right to enter into that particular room. And then you now need to buy server hardware from people like HP. So I will take your laptop now as a server. Your laptop can be so powerful that you use it to set up that email service. Then apart from that, you need to subscribe to internet service from the likes of MTN, from the likes of Mewan, from the likes of AT&T, that's those of us that are outside Nigeria. I'm really sorry, I won't be biased. Don't say I'm biased, right? Maybe every time I want to make an analogy or an example, I'm trying to maybe make use of common names or known names in Nigeria. I'll try as much as possible to call names for those of us that are joining from outside Nigeria to be able to relate as well. But when we talk of cloud, generally, it applies irrespective of where you are seated in the world. And so you put all of those things into place and set them up. So in essence, you are setting what you are setting up in essence, putting together is called data center. So that data center now, you set it up with so much money involved in it. But then some people came up, people like Microsoft, Amazon, Google, they came up and said, okay, a lot of time, organizations, they are still running maybe old version of a particular services that they are running, like their email server, their email service, they are using the very first one that was introduced then. But things have changed with the OEM, like Microsoft, for instance, they've introduced a newer version, and most organizations are still using that. So rather than for a company to say, okay, now all these the physical infrastructure will always be there, like the building, the cooling, but you need to be maintaining it. The rack will also be there. But those server hardware, most of the time, you might need to replace them for you to be able to run the updated version of the particular applications that they are running. So in that case, the cloud computing vendors came together and said, okay, why not them, setting up data center? They have the money, they have the resources. They set up a data center, and then the data center is so big, and not just in one place, they will set it up at different locations in the world, like different regions. They can set up in Africa, they can set up in Europe. Even within Europe, they can have multiple of those buildings, and then they connect them together, using some form of WAN technologies. And they will set up those giant rack, giant cooling, giant server hardware, and set up all of those services and then provide it to you. And how will you now access them? You access them via the internet. So cloud computing really is all about you rendering services, computing services over the internet, such that it is not limited, the way people access it is not limited to a particular region, a particular location. And it's such that it allows you to be able to use services and then only pay. So cloud computing is all about you renting services or providing services to people over the internet, and then saying they should pay for all of those underlying infrastructure that need to be set up, while you would bother with the headache of setting up those infrastructure. So like we said, hardware, which is either your laptop or server, is one of it. Networking, like the wireless that you need to set up, the routers and switches, they all fall under this networking aspect. The firewalls that you need to use to protect your servers or the data that are hosted on those servers. That is part of services that are rendered under in cloud computing. Then we talk of storage, like some of us make mention of storage. Yes, storage to allow you to store, just that is just the purpose of store, for the purpose of you storing your data somewhere. So these days, if you notice the way data have blown up, it has blown up um, such that it has grown so much in that 1 terabyte, it looks so small to us now. Unlike in those days where you have a flash drive of 250 MB and you are feeling cool that you have something very big. But today, that is even nothing. One single file could be larger than 250 MB. So you have 1 terabyte and it's looking so small. So cloud computing allow you to be able to run services like storage. And then now the last thing is analytics. So it allow you to be able to run services where you analyze data as data are being passing through either your own infrastructure or others. All data that you use, you are able to analyze them and make meaningful use of the result of your analysis. So now let's talk about the different cloud type. One of the first one we talk about is the public type cloud. Public cloud is usually owned by cloud service provider, big people, not as in big companies that have, the money to set up so much, to invest. They are able to invest so much in hardware, in building, in cooling, in everything. They are not usually small. That's why I say big. So, and if you look at Microsoft, Microsoft is that big company that can offer such services. So they are also they provide resources and services to multiple organizations. That's another keyword. Apart from internet, the services that are being provided by the public cloud is not just for one company or one user. It's for multiple users from different regions around the world, and then accessing it using internet. So that is a feature or a characteristic of a public cloud. Then, like I've said earlier, I've been saying this, that internet is one key thing that is really that is a characteristic of cloud. So for public cloud, yes, that's it. You need to be able to access the cloud from right from anywhere. So I will also take, maybe give you an analogy of taking the cloud, the public cloud now as let's see, or the cloud generally, let's see, let's say you want to host a training, right? And this training, you are expecting maybe about 50 people, and the 50 people will need access to computers, right? And then probably just started your business, you don't have such money to set up computer that are so powerful for people to be able to use and then be able to do things, and it's fast for them. So you might want to subscribe to service from maybe an hotel. You go to an hotel now and say, okay, I want to use a room. I need a room that can take up to 50 people. And that room, I will be needing computer. Do you have computer? They will say yes. Okay, you tell, I need about 50 computer, and the computers will have this particular computing power, that's properties, maybe how many memory you need the computer to have, the size of address, the type of processor, and all of that. Then you will be needing maybe internet access. When people come, you want them, they will ask you, okay, for how long, how many days or how many hours do you need it for? And then they will bill you based on that. So in that case, now you are renting those services. They are not yours. When you finish using it, you will leave both the premise, you will leave the computer, and all the resources you use for that particular thing, they still belong to the hotel. So that's generally the hotel now, it's open to the general public. You can come from anywhere in the world and make use of a particular hotel. So we can take that as a public cloud. Then private cloud is usually owned by a single organization. So I will take private cloud as your own personal on-premise data center that you might have set up for your business. And then, like I see, if you recall earlier how you set up the data center, the way I analyze it in terms of you getting building, power, cooling, rack, routers, switches, servers, firewall, even cameras for physical security, and what have you to set up a data center. That is your own. Only you and your users have access to the data that is stored in a private cloud. So a private cloud could also be linked to, MTN, for instance, or even AT&T will have their own data center that they also rent somehow to the public. But the way most of those renting happen is that, like May1, those of you that knows May1 very well, the way those renting happen is that May1 have their data center and then they have racks, but you will carry your own server. You have to carry your server to May1's data center to go and mount there. You carry your cables, though they might give you cable because they don't want you to create maybe a web of network cables there. They will have done cables and all of that, even put switch there, then you will borrow. But in some cases, you have to go with your own switch. You will buy rack space. They tell you how many rack space do you need. You will tell them that is where you put your server, put your switch, put your router, put your firewall. Then for you to access those services, you need to create what we call a tunnel between that data center and your own data center, so that all your offices, so that people can then access it and then be able to use the service. But most time, it's not things you access over the internet. That's a form of private cloud. It's not for general, it's not for so many people. It's for few organizations that can use it. Chris, you're raising hand. Yes, please go ahead. Hi, Chris, your hand is raised.
All right, thank you very much. I was going to ask, you said something about why you were defining the public cloud. You said something about that they are actually owned by a cloud service provider or hosting provider. So I wanted to ask, all these organizations that do web hosting, sort of maybe the likes of GoDaddy, Bluehost, all of those ones. So are they really cloud service provider on their own? Like, do they have their own cloud service system, or do they depend on cloud service provider?
Okay.
All right.
So
That's my question.
is that all right? Thank you. So most of them depend on other cloud service provider. So unless they are providing services to you, so their own service that they are providing is more like it can be platform as a service, because sometimes you are hosting your domain. It can be software as a service, but then if you go to the back end, they will have their own, either they have their own data center or they are leveraging on another cloud service provider's data center. So they are not still, they might have a form of cloud, but most of the time they leverage on other cloud service provider. If you take note very well, maybe on sometimes when you access some of those things, if you look behind, you might even be seeing things on Azure to tell you that, oh, this GoDaddy or this particular maybe network solution, their server is actually hosted in an Amazon cloud, or is hosted on Google. Because in essence, what they are just giving you is just an interface for you to be able to, go here and there on your domain or on your website, really. So it's different from, it's different from the cloud services where you think of, where you have so many varieties of services, including, storage, including networking, even security, and everything is there. You just need to be adding into the bucket and be using and paying for it as you go. So I don't know, did I answer your question?
Yes, I did. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, please, if you are not speaking, can you mute if you are not speaking? Ife, I see your mic. Okay. Do you have a question? Okay. All right, thank you. So private cloud, like we have said, it is usually smaller in size and owned by a smaller organization, and then it could be for just your own company, or maybe to maybe a few number of organizations. But before they access it, they need to create some form of tunnel, which is called VPN. So you need to establish a tunnel between that data center and your own office for your users to be able to access whatever resources you are hosting in that particular data center. And like I said, even though you are hosting, let's say if you use May1's data center now to host your server, even though your server, your switches and everything is there, they're not going to be maintaining it for you. It's your responsibility. The only thing they are taking care of is the space, the rack, the power, the cooling, but then the physical security. But every other thing like logical security, maintaining your infrastructure and everything, your server, hard disk fail, you go there to go and change it. So it's not going to be that responsibility fall on you. And then, so just like I said, does not provide access to users outside of the organization. Because you have to create a form of tunnel to your from May1 to your own data center, or even if it's your data center that is hosted in your that is seated in your office, one of the rooms in your office, before people can access it, they must always have to be in the office to access it. Though there's a way now by which you can make it available to them on the internet. But when you do that, it is still only your users. You cannot bring the users from company B to come and access resources in company A. So that access is very limited in terms of where and how you can access it. Then finally is public cloud. I would say public cloud is just a mix of both the private cloud and hybrid cloud, I mean. Hybrid cloud is a mix of both the private cloud and public cloud. So take, for example, you have your own data centers on premise, you have your servers, your switches and everything. And then you have heard about the public cloud and a particular service provider, Azure, Microsoft, especially they have Azure and this, they have these servers, the storage, and they're cheap. They look so cheap. So I want to move there. You won't move your things, your resources, you will not move your server, you will move them all at once. No, you are going to move them gradually. So you are moving, at the end of the day, you are transitioning from being a private cloud owner to an hybrid, then eventually you will become completely public. That's after you have been able to move all the resources, all the servers and applications that you have that is seated in your own data center on your servers before you move them now to a place like Azure. So at the end of the day, you won't have a need of the formerly owned server hardware. You just shut them down, and that will save you a whole lot of expense around power, around the running generator to ensure that the servers are up and running all the time. So hybrid cloud is just a combination of public and private cloud. That's in a nutshell, that's a hybrid cloud for us. So so talking about the hybrid cloud, when you transit from being a private cloud to hybrid cloud, at the end of the day, you are going to be saving a lot of costs. You are going to be you are going to now start using other things that is other services or other features that the public cloud service provider provides you, like your resource, location access from any location is not restricted to a location. Your user that need always to be in the office before, they can now always access from anywhere, and They can use any internet to access it. You don't even have to give them dongle, or you don't have to create a VPN tunnel from their computer to wherever, to Azure, for them to be able to use it. Now, so let's compare the different cloud models that we have, the private, public, and then hybrid cloud. So when you look at the public cloud, there's no capital expenditure to scale up. So we will talk about expenditure later. Expenditure, just like the English word, you talk about expenses. What you need to, how much in your pocket is in your pocket that you need to use to set up your own privately owned data center. So in public cloud, that capital expenditure, that initial expenditure, take it as you're starting a business, right? And then you need to have your capital to start the business. Then once you have your capital, you also need to have some, money set aside for the day-to-day operational running of that particular business. So in this case, you are not looking at capital. Then application can be quickly provisioned. That's one thing about public cloud. It's called agility. It's called speed. So you can provision, you can set up service that you need like as quickly as possible, and then the moment you finish using it, you bring it down. So that is one key benefit, the fact that that agility is there, and you always have to pay for what you have used. So organizations, like we said, whenever you're using public cloud, you pay only for the services you are using. So you don't have to pay for the entire hardware, because that hardware is being shared by you and so many other users around the world. So you don't have to pay for it. You just pay a token so that Microsoft or the cloud service provider uses that to be able to maintain that particular service or hardware. Then looking at the private cloud, for private cloud, for you to have a private cloud, you need to talk of the capital expenditure is involved here. So you need to buy your hardware, you need to buy a building, you need to buy install cooling, you need to buy ACs and then install it. You need to buy generator to ensure you keep it running if there's no electricity from the public provider of electricity services. Then you all the control, that's in terms of taking care, managing that particular infrastructure, managing the server, maintenance generally, it's fall on you. How you secure the data you store in your private cloud, it's on you, really. Unlike the public cloud, you get either you or the cloud service provider gets to provide that security. But when we talk of physical security, it falls on the public provider here. But in the case of private, that's your own responsibility. Then when you talk of maintaining hardware, updating, patching the operating systems that you have running on the various hardware, maintaining your AC to ensure that they are cooling all the time, ensuring that the switches, they have enough cooling, the ports that have gone bad are replaced, and power that is bad, the cables that are bad, hard drives that are failing, you are able to replace them. That's a responsibility that you inherit with private cloud, which is not the case with public cloud. Then looking at the hybrid cloud, is a shared responsibility, really. Everything you have in your own data center will be your responsibility, and everything that is in the public data center will be a shared responsibility. Some aspect of it, like we said, will fall on the service provider, while the rest will fall on you. And then you are the one, you can determine one thing here that you can do with hybrid. You can determine to say, okay, where do I want to host this particular application? Now, you got a developer in-house, and then they need to set up a website for you. You can decide whether you want to spin up another server in your own data center locally, or you want to just put it on the cloud side of your data center, so that it's always running, right there. So you can choose where you want to host your services. at a particular time. Then, like I said earlier, control, compliance, and legal requirement. So this one now, it's going to be shared for everything that is hosted in your primary data center while you are operating hybrid data center falls on you. While the other things for the public data center, for instance, is a shared responsibility between you and the public service provider like Microsoft. So let's look at generally the benefits of cloud computing. So once we are able to finish this, like I said earlier, we'll be able to identify the various benefits that are associated with cloud services or cloud computing. And I talk about expenses. We'll talk about the expenses. Majorly, there are two costs associated with cloud services. We talk about the CAPEX, that's capital expenditure, and OPEX, that's operational expenditure. So we'll talk more about it later. And we'll describe what we call consumption-based model. So majorly cloud service is referred to as a consumption-based model. Why? Because you only pay for the services you are consuming, that you are using at a particular time. You don't need to pay for it if you are not going to use it. So these are the core benefits of cloud services. High availability. For instance, Microsoft will tell you that they are giving you 99.99% uptime. If you have two nines, it means you have about 4 minutes downtime in a month, and I think about 8 hours downtime in a year. So if you now have three nines, that's 99.999. So it reduces further even how long, that's how many hours or minutes or days you have to be you will tolerate for downtime with that particular cloud service provider. So any good cloud service provider should be able to offer you 99.99% availability, availability of that particular cloud services. So, and then, when we talk of availability, it means at any time you or your users need to use the services, it's available. It's unlike when you have your own data center. Right now, a user is calling, I can't access my mail. And you went to check, you realize one hard drive on the mail server has failed. So it's not just the user. It means the entire organization is crumbled at that time until you are able to replace that hard drive that is failed for the service to come back up. But if you must set up your service on-prem, your email server, for instance, on-prem, to be highly available, you need to buy multiple servers. You need to buy multiple application license, and then you need to buy multiple operating system licenses. And so look at all of those expenses that is coming in, and you set it up in what we call highly available mode, so that when one of the server go down, hard drive fail on one of the server, the service will not fail. The service will automatically fail over to the second server. So that means you will have two servers or two instances of each of your applications. Then we talk of scalability. Scalability, any cloud services should be scalable. Scalable in the sense that you can increase and decrease as you wish or at will. So let me say, for instance, I will use maybe your laptop. You want to buy a laptop now. You need to consider what you want to use a laptop for, right? Maybe you want to be coding now. Or yes, you want to start programming, classes. And when you are running, you will install some applications and they will tell you to start coding. Maybe you need a computer that is 4 gig, that have 4 gig RAM, the one that is Core i3 or something, that's processor. And then the hard drives will be maybe 250 gig or in space. And you bought that laptop, you are using it now. So in terms of scalability, really, there's what we call vertical and horizontal scalability. What I'm describing right now is going to be vertical in the sense that now you have started the coding with that 4 gig RAM laptop Core i3, and 250 hard drive. And over time, you realize that, oh, this system is beginning to drag, it's slow, it's dragging. You want to be able to do things faster. So you will first check if that laptop supports upgrade. If it supports upgrade, then you might want to maybe take it to 8 gig. It means you will buy additional 4 gig RAM to add to the existing 4, or you remove the 4 and buy 8 gig RAM and slot into it and install on that particular laptop to give you 8 gig at the end of the day. So your storage also might be getting filled up. So you will need to swap the storage for a higher one. So just like that, that is what they call vertical scalability. But when we talk of horizontal scalability, have to do with, okay, now I have one single server that is running, let's give example of this one now. I will talk of, let me see. Yes, let me use maybe all these Jumia or Amazon. That's the not the Amazon cloud. Now I'm talking about Amazon online shopping. That's the normal merchant website. So let's say there's going to be Christmas now, and then they are going to be doing sales, right? Currently, what they only have their e-commerce site. They have it set up on one server. If around the Christmas period time where everybody is waiting for maybe that 12 midnight when they will open some sales, and you quickly pick things before you finish from the store, you quickly buy off things. A lot of people are waiting at that time. There's a lot of traffic right now to that merchant site, either Amazon or maybe Jumia for those that are in Nigeria here. A lot of traffic is going to that particular traffic at that time. So what will happen is they will, even user before they open the site, before they open the website, is going to be dragging. So in order for it not to drag, they will set up multiple other servers. That's instances. Set up additional instances of their web server or the e-commerce server. They will set it up such that as people are coming, the traffic will now be distributed across the servers. Then once that sales period is over, they will decommission, that's remove some of those instances to reduce, so that way they will now be spending less. Only when they need to increase is when they spend more as at that time. So that's what we call scalability. Ability for you to increase resources at the time that you need to do it. That's in terms of hardware resources or components that make up that particular service, or to be able to multiply or make multiple of a particular application that people are accessing. So scalability and elasticity, they are related in every way, but we'll get to that later in a bit. Then cloud, one of the other benefits of cloud is the fact that it is globally rich. It must be globally, it must support global reach, meaning to be able to access it from anywhere around the world. Yes, Chris.
Okay, sorry. I don't know if I'm dragging you back.
No problem. Go ahead, please.
Okay. So when you talked about scalability, I found the example very, very practical and interesting. So I wanted to ask, I heard you talking about horizontal and vertical scalability. So when you talked about the vertical, you talked about maybe someone had a RAM for 4 gigabytes, 250 hard drive, quite 3, then it's lagging because of the job that you're using it for. So you don't want to increase the RAM. So you might maybe take it up to 8 gig RAM. So refer to that as being the vertical scalability. So then you also cited another example again about a scenario whereby you have an e-commerce site, something like Jumia. Then there's a particular time when you're going to have a very high traffic. Then for that sake, now you now decide to now buy more space, sort of like on the cloud, so you can have multiple instances of the application. So then you're able to expand it for that moment, so you don't have issues with your server. So you're able to expand it for that period that you're going to have that high level of traffic. Then when you're done, you decommission it. So this other example that you gave now, is it also the vertical or is the horizontal? Or what is actually the difference between the vertical and the horizontal scalability?
That's horizontal. So the vertical is still the same computer that you're using, that you are increasing the resource on it, right? But the horizontal is that, so I will just take, let's say cloud. Let's forget, that we're talking cloud now. The horizontal is the fact that I have one laptop. I realize even if I have upgraded, maybe you've upgraded all the component to the max, and the service is still dragging because of the level of traffic that is coming. Now, what you do is go and buy another server and set up another instance of that particular application and configure them in what we call HA, or you load balance them. You load balance, or you configure what you call load sharing, such that now when traffic is coming, it will send, if it's 20 traffic, for instance, it will send 10 of that traffic to server 1 and send the remaining 10 to server 2. Or as the thing is coming, you send request 1, send it to server 1, request 2, you go to server 2, request 3, send it to server 1, request 4, you go to server 2. So it's sharing load. That is horizontal, where you need to add additional server. That's horizontal. You get it?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So now we talk about global reach, the fact that it can be reached from anywhere in the world, from any region, irrespective of where you are. That's one key benefit of cloud service or cloud computing. Then agility, I talked about it the other time. It's about speed. How fast, how quickly can you spin up service? I need this, I need to set, we are doing this sales right now. We've not ever done it before. It means we might need to create another website where people, like a landing page, where people, when they see it, they just click that link. As they click it, or you send people mail, they click a link in an email, and it takes them to a particular page where they will complete maybe registration or do things on that side. So how quickly can you set it up? That's one key benefit of cloud. You can easily spin up service at, when you start the demo, the practical rather, you will see, you'll be able to relate to all of these things. Then talk about disaster recovery. That's one key benefit of cloud service. Azure, for instance, is hosted in Microsoft have data center everywhere. They have it all around. And the way they do is they have backup of their services. They have the backup in different data center. So that means it applies even when they are using private cloud. You want to ensure that you back up your key applications, your key servers, your key data. You are able to store them in one place, and if anything happens, you can quickly bring them up. And how quickly can you bring them up? So disaster recovery is a feature of cloud computing. So for the case of Microsoft now, let's say they need something happen in one of the data centers, users will not even be aware, because the service will automatically recover or take over from another data center. That's what they call disaster recovery. And disaster can happen at any time. It can be physical disaster, it can be due to nature, like electricity, fire, thunder, lightning, and all of that. All of those can be a cause of disaster. So, but how quickly can you recover and spin up services and your user continue? That is the benefit of cloud. Fault tolerance. So now let me explain this fault tolerance in this way. If you have in the case where you talk of that scalability, right? The horizontal one. Now you have set up multiple instances of the e-commerce site, right? And you only have 2 of that e-commerce site. When one of the server now have issue, it means only one will be left as at the time of that huge traffic. As at that time, when you have just 2, how much of downtime can you accommodate? Meaning, how many of those server or instances you have can go down at a time? But because you have just two, it means only one can go down at a time. That's what we call fault tolerance. So the fault tolerance, you have to consider it. It has to be calculated in the cloud such that if I have services that is pinned up and one of the service go down, will that stop one of the server that is hosting the services go down, or one component go down? Will that stop the whole service from, working? It shouldn't. So let's come down to local. You set up a physical data center, right? You have your switch, you have your router. Most of the time, they will tell you to have multiple switches that you are using, so that when one go down, the other one will just continue to take over and continue to serve people until you are able to fix that. Then we can also revert to server with multiple hard drives. So if you are familiar with what we call RAID, that's RAID configuration in hard drive. That's redundant array. Sorry, the name is not coming. The full acronym is not, the full meaning is not coming now. But in essence, is you having more than one hard drive on a computer, and you bundle those hard drive, you bundle them together to be one, right? And what it means is you need to consider the kind of bundling that you are doing. There are different types. There is the one that gives you fault tolerance. There's the one that gives you maybe write parity. Fault tolerance in the sense that if one of the disks fail, the server will not come down, the user will continue to work. While maybe parity is how fast you can write into a particular disk. So I don't want to go, digress into things, but I'm trying as much as possible to explain what we call fault tolerance. It's for you to be able to accommodate how much failure can you accommodate. That's one key benefit or consideration that any cloud service provider will also put into place. Now, elastic, just like the word says, ability for you to be able to contrast and then what? And then expand at will. That's why I said it's similar to scalability. So elasticity is now, let's take the case of that vertical. Now, if it's cloud service, as at the time you are going to be having a lot of traffic hit your e-commerce site or your website for them to make order, right? You've going to increase the RAM from 8 gig to 16 gig. Now, no such traffic is happening again. Things have come down. You can go back there and reduce it back to 8 gig that it was before, until it is next time for you to have such traffic on that website. So that's elasticity. So you see that it's very similar to scalability. Then customer latency capability. So this one now, majorly, it has to do with your own internet. So any cloud service, what they want to take care of is their internet service from the backend the pipe have to be very fat. It has to be a very big, fat pipe, such that from their end, is able to respond to you at very fast. So let me take your Microsoft account, that's your Outlook account, for instance. You want to check your mail, and you click your email. You click a new mail that has just entered, or you want to send a mail. You click new, and as you click new, the thing is waiting you before the page loads. So why it's taking so much as at that time, it's called latency. There's two things to it. Either from the back end, the server is having something, but which most of the cloud service provider will make sure that things are fine from their end. So now the other thing falls down to your own side, which is your own internet. How fast is it for you? So your internet have to be fast. So in a situation where you are trying to access and then you don't have internet access, you won't be able to access that particular service. or your internet access, your internet service is very slow, then you experience a lot of latency. But that latency is not as a result of the service provider is not providing you a good service. Then we talk of predictive cost consideration. So I said earlier, one of the beauty of the cloud is the ability for you to already know ahead of time, to predict how much is going to cost you to host a particular service with any service provider. So they will even give you a calculator for you to calculate if you need to use this service for a year, how long is it going to cost you to use it? So you'll be able to know, your budget and how it's going to be affected. Then security, I've talked a lot about this. Talking about physical security, the cloud service always provides that. Now, logical security as well. Most of the services already have security bundled with them. But they also give you the flexibility that if that security that is provided is not enough, you can actually also bring your own security into the cloud and make use of it in conjoin, or sorry, in combining it with whatever has been provided by the cloud service provider. Oh yes, now costs. Comparing the type of cost. I said earlier that you have two types of costs associated with cloud. We have what we call CAPEX and what we call OPEX. So your cost in this case now is referred to as your expenses, how much it will take you to have your own infrastructure as against having a cloud infrastructure. So for cloud, for instance, you do not have, there's no, what's operating there? Capital expenditure does not come into play here. So capital expenditure is relating with the private or your own physical infrastructure that you have either within your on-premise or in another person's data center that you are co-sharing space. So that way, you need to pay upfront for everything you're going to be using. Like I said, the building, you have to pay for it. Either you build it by yourself, at least if you own the building, it means the cost of it. But the cost of maintaining the building itself is still part of the capital. But the main capital is you have to build the building by yourself, right? Then the cooling, you need to buy AC. AC, those are things that you don't buy every time. But once you buy them, they can stay for a period of time before you spend money. So take for instance, if you are hosting on-premise physical infrastructure that is managed by you, right? Let's say in 2019, you bought new server hardware, and that server was hosting Exchange Server. That's Exchange is from Microsoft. It's hosting Exchange Server 2013. As of today, we have Exchange Server 2019, and then you want to upgrade. There is possibility that server hardware now cannot take Windows Server 2019 and Exchange Server 2019. So what you have to do is you might need to replace the server. You might need to replace it completely, and then you now need to buy the operating system. Then you need to maybe ensure that you have enough storage because of the way data is growing these days and all of that. So that cost, you have to spend it upfront before you can have that data center set up. Then cost from capital expenditure, it reduces over time. So, but then over time, let me say if you set up that infrastructure now, the physical one, it's going to stay for a period of 4 years before you do what we call refresh. Refresh means you buy new hardware, new switches, new everything, new application licenses, new operating system licenses. So for the period of 4 years that you are using it, you won't spend so much again until the next 4 years until the 4th year where you want to do a refresh. That's when you spend a very huge amount of money again to set up the infrastructure all over. So I won't say it reduced. So, but yes, for a short period of time it reduced, but after a while, you go, into the main spending again, as against the operational expenditure. And don't forget that both capital and operational expenditure apply to private infrastructure, because you've set it up initially, but subsequently you need to maintain it. The AC become faulty, you need to ensure that you fix the AC. So you have to set some money aside to be able to, or some fund aside to be able to ensure that your private infrastructure continues to run day in, day out. Generator, you fill the diesel and all of that. So I won't say the cost really, the only reduction you have is the after the initial, before your refresh, it reduces. But the moment you want to do a refresh, it's increase again. Why operational expenditure? That is relating to cloud, because in the cloud, you do not have to pay, you do not have to set up the physical infrastructure on your own. The service provider is already taking care of that. That's the cloud service provider. So what happens is you only pay based on what you need at a particular time. And you can use, I would say you can use Uber as an example. So if you call Uber right now, you are not paying for their car, but you are renting the car, and you are going to pay for the driver's time for a period of time, then the fuel that they use to carry you. Apply to cloud, and you are billed immediately. So unlike here, you pay upfront, and once you pay, you don't need to pay any other money until you want to do something again. But here, you are billed immediately for that service that you have used. And then once you finish using it, you hands off and give it over back to the owner, who is the service provider in this aspect. So do we have any question before I move to the last part of this? Okay.
Okay,
So I guess
so I kind of um I'm sorry to talk about this, but in the course of your explaining the customer latency, I I sort of like my network sort of like twitched, so I sort of lost you at that particular point. So can you please just give me like two sentences of what customer latency actually means? Yeah, thank you.
okay. So I said the service provider already, what they do is they ensure, because one of the key things that you need is internet access, right? You need internet access to be able to access the resources. And we have said, for you to be able to spin up services are fast in the cloud. When you are spinning up services, right, or you are creating services are very fast in provisioning. So but then there are times where you are doing things and you see that it's slow. So that slowness most time is not a fault from the service provider. It might be a fault from your side as a result of the slowness of your internet. So that's customer latency. But they try as much as possible to ensure that from their own side, they eliminate that, in the terms that when you call up a service, is moving at the speed that it is configured to move. But if things are not moving the way it's supposed to, then it's majorly as a result of your own internet service. So I will give another instance. Let's say, take for instance, Microsoft said they are giving you 99.99 uptime, and at some point, let me say you are using what's it called? You are using the software as a service aspect of it. At some time, your user complained that they cannot see, they cannot access their email. So Office 365, I'm sure most of us are familiar with Office 365. They cannot use their email. Or you notice some people can and some people cannot use. And when you check, you realize maybe those that could use that could access their email as at that time, maybe they were using their own internet and the rest of the people were using the office internet. Those are the people having issues. So as at that time now, it's your internet that is causing the delay. It's not the service provider. So you can't go and tell them to say, okay, oh, my user couldn't access services, or some of my users couldn't access services at this particular time. When they check and realize that the fault is from you, then there's nothing they can do. But if the fault is from them, that's where they promise you that guarantee. If it's not guaranteed, then they will give you back. That's 99.9%. They will give you back your money in form of credit. So I'm saying the customer latency now, the cloud service provider try as much as possible to ensure they eliminate that experience of slowness when you are trying to access resources from their side. But if it have to be, you also have to play a role by ensuring that you have a very good internet service for you to be able to access the cloud services. Is that
Okay, you said something about was it RAID or REND? But you not really go into details about it.
Yes, that's why I said I didn't want to. That was around fault tolerance, and I said I do not want to really, so I don't confuse people, right? I don't confuse us. So that's in terms of, I'm trying to explain the fault tolerance aspects of things, or of the cloud service provider. Let me try and go back to that page. Yeah. What do we mean by fault tolerance? The cloud service provider, what they do is they set up very high-end servers, and then let's take, do you know Office 365? Hello? Hello? Chris?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Office 365, for instance, is a software as a service that is hosted on Microsoft Cloud, right? That's on Microsoft Azure. Office 365 is a software as a service that is hosted in part of Microsoft Azure. So now, the way, if you know now, they are the one that set up the Exchange server. They set up the Teams server. They set up the SharePoint server. They set up all of the components at the backend. You're only using the services, right? The way they have done it is such that they will have multiple physical servers. In the multiple physical servers, they will have multiple virtual machines. So now, going deep now means I'll have to explain virtual machines. One of the key requirements for cloud services is what we call virtualization. Virtualization is the ability for you, just take it like that in a layman, is the ability for you to divide one computer into one physical computer into multiple virtual ones. So you will be able to see just the physical computer, but within it, you install a software, a virtualization software. For Microsoft, it's called Hyper-V. You will install it, and then you are able to create multiple virtual machine instances. So that way.
Sorry, I did not catch the name again.
You didn't get what? Which one?
The name of Microsoft's virtual machine.
Hyper-V. That's Hyper-V, Microsoft Hyper-V. That's the Microsoft virtualization technology. So, which is what is heavily relied on in Azure. That's what Microsoft really rely on for people to be able to use the services. So now, I was using Office 365. So Microsoft has bought a very giant or multiple giant servers They've set up Exchange, create virtual machines, set up Exchange on multiple servers, and configure them to be able to load balance each other. They could have like 10 servers. Now, all the 10 servers are running at the same time. It's the same instance. They are all running at the same time, and people are accessing them at the same time. The question they will ask themselves is, if one of those 10 servers go down, will the service still be up? Yes, it's still up. If 2 go down, will the service still be up? Yes, it's still up. So what I use, so the fault tolerance is how many of those server instances will go down before users will not be able to access services again. Do you understand?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So in the case of RAID, I used RAID then earlier. That's you having multiple hard drives on a one physical, you are having multiple physical hard drives on a one server. You can buy one HP server now and install maybe 1 terabyte. 1 terabyte times 10 is what is installed on that server. You configure RAID, and I said RAID was RAID in computer world is called redundant array of independent disks. Independent disks. So when you have physical disks together on a single server and you configure them, more like you bundle them using the RAID technology, you bundle them to become one. Meanwhile, let's say I have about 5 hard drive. Sorry, that I said 10. 1 terabyte hard drive, and I configure all of them to become one physical disk that I can see on that server each time I log into it. The question will be, how many of the 10 hard drive can go down before the server itself completely go down? So if one fails, I can quickly get another one, remove that one that failed, and slot in another one, and everything is still running. 2 have failed, I might not even bother that 2 hard drive has failed because the service is still running. So that is what I was talking or referring to on the fault tolerance aspect. So I'm moving on. So now let's talk about the consumption-based model. Cloud service providers, they all operate on what we call a consumption-based model. Why? Because the end user, who is you in this case now, they only pay for what they use at a time. So let me say you want to set up a website, right? For you to set up a website, you go to what's it called? You go to Azure, and then you probably, depending on what you want to do, whether you want to be able to be patching that website server by yourself, you might decide to set up a virtual machine. And when you set up a virtual machine, you will have to take care of every other thing. Now, when you are buying the virtual machine, you will check how much load will that server will be carrying for that website, how much traffic will be hitting it in the initial. Maybe it will require just 16 gig of RAM. It will require processor, 2 virtual processor is all you need. Then storage, maybe you need just 500 gig of SSD or 250 gig of SSD storage. So 500 gig, sorry, 250 gig. But then you might also want to consider how fast you want the storage to be. SSD storage, they are faster than ordinary HDD storage. So those are type of hard drives that you have now I'm talking about. So if you want to go with SSD, so that when people are making requests, it's very fast. The server responds fast without delaying. In that case, you will have to select the server that meets that particular requirement, and you will only be paying for that. Unlike on-prem, you can buy a very big giant server, and at the end of the day, you are not even using half of it. Or you buy generator because you are setting up a data center, and at the end of the day, the load you have in your data center, you went to buy maybe 50 kVA generator, and you are only consuming 10% of it, it doesn't mean that the generator person who have sold it to you, you go and meet them and say, I'm only using 10% too. Can you come and take 19% that remain and give me back my money? No, it doesn't work that way. But cloud in the other way, you will only take that 10% that you see that that's what you are using. That is the equivalent that you will take, use in the cloud, and pay for just that 10%. You don't have to pay for the entire 100% when you don't need 90. So it's that way. Yeah, it's cheaper for you. You don't waste resources, and with that, you are also able to predict. Okay, now in terms of prediction, let's go back to the commerce website. Sorry, I've gone beyond 2 hours. That's because we didn't start on time. We started late while trying to wait for people to join. So I will be rounding up soon. So just bear with me. But if we can't finish this module this week, we will be continuing next. We'll continue from our next class before we go further. I think I want to stop by 2:30. Is that fine? Is it fine with us?
Yes, it's okay.
Okay, thank you. A minute, please. Okay.
Sorry,
So,
did you mean 12:30 or 2:30?
Sorry, 2:30. Sorry, 12:30. Is that fine, or you want us to continue?
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So, like I was saying, with that, let's go back to the case of e-commerce, right? As at the time there's Christmas period, you know the traffic will be high. You are using Azure, for instance, to host that e-commerce website. And then during the Christmas period, all you need to do is to go to Azure and increase the instances. You increase it. So that way, you increase it and pay for that period. And then when the period is over, the peak period is over, you decrease it back. So it will take you back to normal. So that way, you're able to say, okay, at certain period of the year, for me to host my e-commerce website and it's running optimally, this is how much it's going to cost me. So you're able to predict how much. Then you are paying also for individual resources as against you add this one, add this one, add this one, and at the end of the day, you might add resources that you don't need and pay for it. So in this case, the cloud consumption model allow you to only pay for individual resources based on how you use them. And then, like I said, I've been saying that already, is based on actual usage. So yes, based on actual usage, and you can stop paying for the resources when you don't need them again, and the service provider will not ask you. They've known that you're not using it again. Even though maybe when it expires, they will be telling you, do you want to renew? Do you want to renew? The moment you don't renew, they know you are not using it again. They are not supposed to continue to bill you. That's how cloud computing actually works in terms of consumption of the billing type. Now, let's start with cloud services, and when it's 12:30, like I said, we'll stop and continue from next week. So the final one here is cloud services. The next topic we are going into is cloud services. And after this, we'll now describe properly the infrastructure as a service. These are now type of services that should be available or are available in the cloud. You'll be able to describe the infrastructure as a service type, the platform as a service type, software as a service type, and then you will be able to identify the use cases where you need to use each of them, and then describe the, I've been talking a lot about shared responsibility. So we'll see where your own responsibility starts and where the service provider responsibility starts from also. And we'll talk briefly about serverless computing. So if we can, if not, will be from next week. So let's start. The type of services. There are three main types, like I said earlier. Three common types are one of them is the infrastructure as a service. There are other cloud services, like now there's security as a service, there's storage as a service, there's media as a service. There's a whole lot of services now that are out there when it comes to cloud. But we'll talk majorly about the three common ones, which is first, infrastructure as a service. So take infrastructure as a service, like your own private data center, right? So today, let's say you have your server, you have two servers on-prem. That two servers, physical server, you've enabled virtualization on them, and you are running 4 virtual machines on each of those servers. Now, you want to migrate those servers to the cloud. What you need to do is to go to Azure, for instance, and go and configure your virtual machine. This time now, we're not talking the physical. Each of your virtual machines, the processing power that they are using currently, you go to Azure and go and configure the VMs that you need, that virtual machines, accordingly. The storage they are using currently that is catering for you, you will configure the same thing. The good thing about the storage in Azure is you can start small. You can start with just you can start with just a 250 gig storage, and as you see that the space is getting filled up, you can increase it at any time. So that way, you will not be paying, you will only be paying for what you are using at the time. You are renting the servers, you rent the server now, the physical server, the virtual machines, the storage, the networking, you need to rent it. The operating system that will be running on the virtual machines that you are spinning up in the cloud is also what you will pay for. And once you don't need it again, you are going to just stop paying for it. So these are the features or components rather of infrastructure as a service: servers and storage, networking, firewalls. That's when you talk of security. Data center, physical data center. You're not using your own data center. You are using the Microsoft data center. So that is what we refer to as infrastructure as a service. You set up the server, you are responsible for patching the operating system, you are responsible for installing whatever application you want to host on that server, you are responsible for patching even the application on that server, you are responsible for managing your users as they access the particular service you are hosting on that server. You are responsible for providing internet access for your users to be able to access from wherever they are. However, the data center has provided corresponding internet to be able to send your request, the response of each request you are making, to be able to send it back to you at all time. So the second one on the list is platform as a service, which provides an environment really. So let me give an instance. Who are the people that uses the platform as a service mostly? Is mostly the IT administrators or system administrators. They are the one that deals with infrastructure as a service. So a department can come to you now and say they need maybe the finance department in your organization. They said they want to set up a particular finance application, and then they will need a server, the servers will have so operating system. It will have they will need a particular database, maybe SQL database, or Oracle database. They will need that to be installed on the server and all of that. Then they will need access to it, allow only this particular IP to be able to access it and all of that. So all of those responsibilities, you will take care of it. Those are the people that uses infrastructure as a service. Then when we talk of platform as a service, take platform as a service as just an environment. Okay, so this one are mostly used by software developers. Software developers. So most of the time, what they just want to do is they just want to write their code. They don't care where it's going to be hosted, but they want to write their code, and they want a situation where they can use whatever language they are familiar with. That's what they want to use to write that code, and they want to be able to now host it. So they are focusing on just writing their own code, and then you will think about how they are going to host it. That is what Azure Platform as a Service is. So the developer, give the developer platform to be able to configure it a bit, write his code, and then bring it into Azure. From the backend, the infrastructure team in Azure, not your own users now, not your IT administrator, but the infrastructure team in Azure will be responsible for the physical, for the infrastructure, the underlying infrastructure in terms of server, hardware, storage, and all of that, memory. They will be responsible. You, as a developer, you are only coming with your own code. But then when you come, you want to be able to tell Azure that this language is what I have. So you will be able to select the language according to what you have written. But that is one limitation you can have with platform as a service. If the cloud service provider you are using does not support the language that you have used to write your code, then you will not be able to use that particular. You have to go look for a service provider that supports your language. So that's one limitation or disadvantage of PaaS. And then it allows you to be able to host that code, then you're able to test it, and you're able to, after you test it, you confirm everything is fine, you can then roll it out to the public for people to be able to access it. So the keyword here is you don't want to focus your energy on managing the underlying infrastructure. You just want to host your code or your website somewhere, and you need a place to host it. And so this will be the okay, let's see. As much as possible, I do not want to rush. I will say to rush and finish this phase, but I do not want to. I'd rather continue next week. So let me finish with this slide, and we'll continue from let's see. Hold on. Okay, still have. So let me finish here, and then we'll run it up for today. So software as a service. Now, this is, if you look at the screen, you see the underlying infrastructure is not, is this one, it doesn't, is not majorly, is not your concern. The platform also, like we said, it reduces, as it's going up the ladder, it's reducing how much effort or how much involvement you have to get yourself involved in setting up the particular platform. So for software as a service, the service provider set up everything. The only thing you are coming to do is just to access the service whenever you wanted to access that service and ensure that the service is up. So Office 365 is a perfect example of software as a service, software as a service that is available in Azure or in Microsoft Cloud. So when we talk of Office 365, talk of your Office application, your normal Office desktop, so I don't bore people, your email and your calendar. So Microsoft will set up the Exchange. Exchange server is the one that is responsible for email. They will set it up at the back end. They will patch it. If today it is Exchange Server 2016 that is running, tomorrow Microsoft introduce, which today it is Exchange Server 2019. Let's say tomorrow Exchange Server 2021 is out. It is the responsibility of Microsoft to upgrade the server. And even while they are doing the upgrade, they must not affect you from accessing the service. And that is the reason why they have multiple data centers and multiple instances, so that when they are upgrading the servers in a particular data center, your resource that you are accessing has automatically fail over to another data center. That is why you don't feel it. And from your end, you won't know that anything is happening until they finish all the upgrade and the patches that they are doing. So responsibility here reduced, and your users are able to connect to this type of service over the internet as well. So internet is a key thing. If you notice, internet is common to every aspect of the cloud service type. I'm going to stop here today, and by next week when we come back, we are going to continue from comparison page, and we'll finish it and then start module 2 as well. Next week, I believe we'll be able to cover more and even start doing our lab. So on this call, after today, you can check up the let me stop sharing my screen now. Okay, so after today, you can set up, sorry, I'm going to drop maybe a guide for those of us that do not have already Azure environment, maybe a trial environment that you use. I'll drop a guide in the charts that's in our, okay, so I'll drop a chart, a file in the file tab of the channel, so that we can access it and follow it to set up our demo environment. So I will encourage us, so if I can just maybe quickly walk us through what we will see when we are trying to set up, but can you, can you still see my screen? Just quickly, I'm going to show you. Yes. Okay, thank you. Yes. All right. Sorry that I'm taking your time. We are through. So you can come back on the channel later on the file. I will also drop a message so that I can send to you that message has been dropped. On the file tab, I'm going to drop the step-by-step for you to follow to set up your own lab environment. And I would like us to kind of use this other option by going to visualstudio.com. That's my.visualstudio. I would have loved to do, we can do it together, but time has gone. So if I go to my.visualstudio.com, it's going to be expecting me to kind of sign in. I do not have maybe an account, or if I don't want to sign, I just want to show you the process. And why I wanted to go through Visual Studio is because, let's go to just Visual Studio. Correct. Yes. So why I want you to go through this aspect is going to give you access to a whole lot of other services or other resources that you can make use of. This is my internet now.
Have you baked today?
Free Visual Studio. It's supposed to be getting started. So you sign up for Visual Studio Essential. So that way it's a platform that will now give you access to a whole lot of other ones. So I'm going to what's wrong?
Is this class still on?
Yes, I'm just trying to show them something.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I was just being sure.
Okay, we are through. I just want to quickly show them. I'm going to drop a step-by-step guide for them to follow. But I just want to run through it for them to see. So if you go to this site, Visual Studio, you can search on Google, Visual Studio Essential. So you just click Visual Studio and then you'll be able to join or access. If you click join or access, it will ask you to sign up. So I do not have an account. I want to create an account. Let's create a new one. So the best thing is, I think most of us, we use a non-Microsoft account. Yeah, I will advise that you use a Microsoft account because before you can sign up for a trial Azure, you require a Microsoft account. And if you already have a Microsoft account, confirm that you haven't used it before to sign up for Azure. You can only use a Microsoft account at a time. You can't use it again, even if that particular subscription has expired. So you will need to create a new one. So if you have one you've used before, kindly just create a new one to do this new sign up for yourself. So just quickly create account. It's very easy to create account. I wouldn't want to be going through that, but let me say I have an account already. I want to use somebody's account. So let me just create an account for yourself. And once you are finished creating an account, it will land you here. I will open my own for you to see. It's going to land you in a page, my.visualstudio.com. I just want to show you when you create this, so that if you are also doing development, if you are joining the development class, you also already have how to get access to resources that you need also there. And if you are doing Power Platform, it also gives you ability to be able to do that as well. Those that are doing Office 365, so you have all of those resources in one place. That's why I want us to go through that. So I'll drop a guide later, like I said. Just a few seconds for it to load. My internet is getting slow now. So once you sign up, this is where it will bring you, and you will notice you have Visual Studio Dev Essential. So like I said, those that are using, but for the purpose of Azure class, you will see this, which will give you $200 credit per month. And after the $200 is finished, it's going to give you access to still continue to use some free services. And you can continue, like I said, if you're a developer, you can continue to still test things out. So you click this button, activate against Azure. And once you click, it's going to take you to a page where you put in your details, like your first name, last name, and everything, your address, Once you finish that, you go to next. It's going to ask you to put your credit card. So the credit card, like I said, it's just going to remove $1 just to confirm that you are truly human being and you have you can create an account. So it's going to remove $1, but it will revert it back for you later. So don't be afraid, it will revert it back. And let's say the $200 finish, you spin up resources, it doesn't mean it's going to be removing your money. It won't remove, it will always ask you. So you will be the one on your own to upgrade to pay as you go pricing model. But as long as you did not upgrade, nothing is removed from your account. So what happened is also I already have an account for myself, but that is how you are going to go. All of those step by step is going to be in that document. So don't worry. That's because I just realized that I've used this account before also. So I won't be able to show you that step by step. And once you are able to finish the payment page, it will take you to the next one and spin up your subscription for you immediately. And in the next class, we can walk through on how you can access a lot of other things. So I think that will be the end from my end. If you have maybe further questions, a lot of questions have been treated as the class was going on. If you have other questions that you want to ask, you can ask. And if you don't have the question now, you have later, you can drop it on the chat. We always monitor and respond to you when necessary. So thank you very much, everyone. We weren't able to meet the rest of the people. Probably you'll get the opportunity to introduce yourself next week when we come in, because some of you joined late. So that will be all for today's class. And I thank you once again for listening and paying attention. And we'll see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much. So please, is Yinka on the call? Can you help us stop? Okay. MJ, please, can you help us stop the recording? So bye, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Bye, and have a nice weekend.
And
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.